Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another video on this YouTube channel. And in one of my last videos I announced that I was going to have a closer look at the Yamaha AN200 one of these days. And today is that day. The heart of this groove box from the early 2000s is the Yamaha PLG 150 card. This is a small hardware extension card which provides your groove box with 5 virtual analog voices, and this one can be edited by the knobs on this device or by software on your PC. And let's have a look at that. But let's begin with the user interface of the AN200. We've got a 16-button keyboard down here, and we've got the controls for filter, effects, amp and filter envelope, LFO and oscillator parameters over here, including the balance of the 2 oscillators, frequency modulation, synchronization and the noise level. Sound is created by 2 oscillators, which then can be routed through a variety of filters and can then be passed through a variety of effects. And you also have frequency modulation and heart sync on this machine. Of course, this machine has also 2 LFOs which can control amplitude and filter cutoff frequency and a lot of other things which can be set up in the PC editor, which I'll show you later. Here I'm setting it up to control the filter cutoff frequency. Okay, but to be fair, this is boring, standard stuff you've come to expect from using a virtual analog synth. So let's reset the sound and have a look at the PC editor, because there's one thing which makes this synth quite unique. Okay, and this is a tiny editor which is mostly a carbon copy of the AN200's user interface, but we're interested in this tiny button over here, which is called Free EG or Envelope Generator. And what you can do here is draw graphs by hand or with the tools on the left hand side, and then use these graphs to modulate your sound. For example, the filter cutoff frequency, the panning, the loudness of the oscillators, and so on. With the menu on the bottom of the screen, I'm telling the synth that it should use these envelopes for each key press on the keyboard while playing. But you can also set it up to cycle through these envelopes while playing a pattern, or to cycle through it a certain amount of time, or repeat it. On the top of the screen, I can turn on the freehand envelope and assign it to a function, for example, the filter cutoff frequency. Okay, let's draw another shape and assign it to the fine-tuning of oscillator 2. And here I'm using the triangle wave tool to draw a triangle wave and assign it to the panning of the sound. And finally, I'm drawing a straight line which will control the LFO speed. The nice thing about these freehand envelopes is that you can still use your knobs to control the sound, and they will just add to your changes. Okay, just add some effects and I'm officially done with this part of the demonstration. Well, and in addition to the virtual analog synth, there's also a drum computer in this. There are 3 tracks of drum samples, which are pre-recorded samples, you can't change them. And apart from the drum samples, there are also bass samples in here, so you can use the drum tracks for playing bass lines. Let's have a look at that. Okay, so this is a 16-step sequencer with 3 tracks for the drum computer and 1 track for the synth part. And we can program the drums by pressing the 16 keys according to the 16 steps in the pattern. Okay, and after creating the beat here, I can now press Shift and 1 to 8 button. And when doing this, the bottom row of encoders will refer to the 8 steps of half a pattern. So when you turn the encoders, you can select the sample that each step will play. And I repeat this procedure for the second track, which will play the hi-hat sequence. You can set the function of the encoders by pressing Shift and the step selector repeatedly, so we can now adjust the velocity of each step in the pattern. I'm using the 3rd track of the drum sequencer for the bass sounds, and there are 3 different bass sounds on this machine, and you can select them by choosing the notes in the lower octaves. Okay, I'll finish this by adding a delay effect to the bass and the drums, and I've created a piano sound or electric piano sound previously, so I will improvise with that just a little bit. And I'll change the chord progression with the transpose function live. Let's listen to this. Well, and that's it for today. Thanks for watching as always, and if you found this video interesting, please consider subscribing to my channel. I have lots of other videos on there on all kinds of synthesizers. I would mind if you take a look at that. And until then, thanks for watching and see you next week. Bye bye.